common human experience of just, yeah, like that, knowing that you're human. I've come to that conclusion actually on, I think it was high doses. I don't even know. Of high doses, probably mushrooms or cannabis, one of them, right? Just like that commonality of the human experience. And I felt that between everybody. Like I remember specifically, I was lying in bed in the dark and I just felt like what it feels like to be a human. And there is that, like, that sense, like no matter how different that I may feel than somebody from, say, I don't know, in the middle of Zimbabwe, or that, I have no actual, it seems like, relation to, there is that, like, that felt experience of just being a human being, like that untethered connection of just having this experience of the five senses and of the mind.
Yeah, I've had the same. In fact, it was my very first ayahuasca experience where I had that, and I remember I was in this kind of this hall with all these other people doing this ceremony, and there was a few candles that were lit, and it was flickering the candlelight across the ceiling, and I just kind of fell back on my mat and started seeing kind of cave paintings emerge out of the shadow, these kind of tribal cave paintings, and I just reached up and looked at my hand. And I just thought, I had that kind of thought, what you described, that I am a human being.
I think everybody's been there, yeah.
Yeah, and I realized at that point that at some point in like ancient history, the first human being would have had that, there must have been a first human who had that first conscious thought, like in whatever language it was, like, I am this.
I am.
And
yeah.
and that thought from that, person way back in prehistory, to me, the chain just formed. And like you said, it's funny you talk about like sort of tribes in Zimbabwe. That's exactly what I saw. I saw where I was. I saw all my ancestral chain going back. I saw how I was linked to all these other, tribes on the, people on the planet. I was looking at the sort of like the flickering of the candle flame, and just realized that at that exact moment, there must be, at least like tens of millions of other people in some shape or form stirring into a flame, whether it's around a campfire or whether it's around, a fire in the sort of the home, or whether it's like a candle. And I just felt this sense of connection it was transcendent. It was, I felt like I knew my place. I felt like, that this connection of humanity just meant something. It's, the spirit of humanity, that it was something greater than I was. And it was humbling, and it was just, amazing to realize you are a part of something. And it just reinforces this idea, like, I have an obligation to make my part in this chain the most valuable thing that I can give to it. I can't just squander my life because I'm part of this chain, and I'm going to, my children are going to be part of this chain, and their children, it's going to go, and from beginning of time till the end of time. And it's my responsibility to make the most of it. And it was the actual experience themselves. Like I said, I was looking at a candle, I was looking at shadows. So it certainly wasn't the most far out I've ever been on psychedelics, but in terms of what it meant to me, it meant everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think those kind of experiences are yeah. I think when it can sort of sometimes be a bit of a dirty word, but that to me was a spiritual experience. It was deeply profound.
Yeah.
And not every psychedelics experience is spiritual like that. And I think that's, yeah, it's another one of these phrases I'm trying to put my own sort of phrasing to it so that it can be used normally, because again, you start talking about being spiritual and they go, oh God, people, he's going to start trying to push the Bible at me or whatever. So, but those spiritual experiences are, they're desirable. That was what it was. I would strive to get back to that experience if I could. But again, you can't control what kind of experience you get with these things.
Yeah. I think that for me, how I defined what a spiritual awakening is, quote unquote, because that's something, that's another buzzword that's thrown around and people have their own interpretations of it. But I think if you want to put it in the most realistic point of view and, in a way that everybody can relate to, a spiritual awakening is realizing that me and you are the same thing. Even though we might not look like it, we are having this shared experience that is the same thing. And it's not only me and you, it's 7.5 billion people all around the world. And because of that shared experience, we're all, cliche again, we're all one. We're all part of this experience that is being human. And that is putting it at the simplest form, in my opinion, a spiritual awakening. Because not everybody knows that. Like, you know, I've heard the term before that we're all one, man. Like, yeah, you know, we're all this one thing. And I was just like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm not you. Like, how are we all one? But there's just like a simple like switch that has to flick in your head to know what it actually means to be a human being. Because before, like, you know, I was called a human, and, you know, going throughout my day, I'm Gary Haskins, I'm this guy, I'm some white guy that lives in America. But then when you realize, like, you take away all those titles and you realize what it actually is to be in this experience, and it opens you up to, like, oh shit, everyone else has that, is in this experience with me. And it's that simple. It's just a feeling. I really don't know how else to explain it. It's like an epiphany. It's like a revelation.
Yeah, for sure. I'd go a little bit sort of further with that as well. I think another aspect of it, which I think certainly, I would say what you just described is the foundation upon which any other kind of spirituality needs to kind of occur. So you have this feeling of oneness, and I think that feeling, it allows you to sort of then feel things like, you know, compassion and empathy and understanding for all your fellow humans. And also that, and this is where I think somewhere the kind of the spiritual psychedelic community gets it wrong. That sort of compassion and empathy also has to happen at the level of that. Some of these people haven't gone through this thing yet. So you have to be able to reach them and communicate with them in a way where they're not sort of, you know, necessarily have the understanding of what you've been through. And I think that you know, particularly in a lot of the new age spiritual community, they can get very snooty about, like, oh, well, I'm so enlightened and you don't understand me, sort of thing. You know, I'm so above you. And that serves no purpose in my, like, this whole sort of enlightened speak. I think, I mean, this is not to downplay the actual act of enlightenment or the act of awakening, but to club people over the head with it and make it into some sort of like elite little club, I think is completely counterproductive.
Yeah.
But then I would sort of, on top of that kind of spiritual foundation, I think then there's a part of it is then sort of knowing yourself and knowing sort of like what your you know, aligning yourself to your sort of higher power. And that higher power, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, like a god or some sort of thing. It could be, you know, what you want to do with your sort of, with your life. And it could be something as simple as, like, you know, you want to be a good person. You want to be the best person that you can be. I want this to be the best version of me it can be. I want to be a good husband. I want to, you know, I want to serve others. I want to fix the mistakes that my father made, you know, whatever it is, some sort of higher power. And then I think in that kind of moment of spiritual awakening, you know where you are on that path, and you don't, you know, like, I don't think the path ever actually has an end. But you feel spiritually aligned when you're on it, and you start to feel when you're not on it. Like, I know that when I start acting like an asshole online, or if I'm sort of, you know, mindlessly playing video games, you know, for 10 hours a day, like, I might be doing it, but there's something in me that knows, like, dude, you just, you know, stop eating all the chocolate, dude. Just, you know. So, and then when you get yourself back on track, again, you feel it. You sort of feel that alignment, and you start feeling sort of positive, and your posture changes, and it's. So I think, yeah, it's a kind of a bit of a mishmashed answer, but I think that's how I sort of perceive my take on spirituality, is that it's me progressing down the path that I kind of set myself. And again, that whatever that path is completely up to the individual.
Yeah. Yep. 100%, man. I'm glad you said that, because it is coming to that conclusion of knowing that we're all one. And then from there, you're like, all right, so what then? Like, what do you do? All right, yeah, we're now one. Well, okay, that means I'm probably, if you're a good person, I'm going to make the world a better place through whatever, or, you know, it could be your personal life, could just be, you know, you treat your dog better or something, or whatever it is. But, you know, I think it also has a lot to do with, like we talked about at the beginning, the creative aspects. and creating. Literally, we all create that better world for each other.
Yeah. And I think, and those changes to make that world can be minuscule. They can be, you know, and this is something that I also see a lot on retreats. So like, there's a lot of people want to save the world, like, you know, like just in one go overnight. And I think, and again, this might even be before they've sort of completed the work on themselves, but just the smallest sort of things, like say having a conversation, sort of, you know, being friendly to a stranger. You don't have to sort of, you know, occupy Wall Street every day for the rest of your life. It doesn't, if, as you know, the smallest bit of progress is still progress.
Yeah.
And again, there's something there that you shouldn't necessarily convince yourself that you're making progress. If you're not, you should be honest enough with yourself to be able to check in and know that you're doing it. But yeah, I think if you set yourself those goals too high, then they fall over because it was just beyond your capabilities. And again, that can sort of send you back the other way then. And then it's like, oh, you're back in sort of depression because you failed at your goals and stuff like that. So I'm sort of a big proponent of the, you know, little realistic things. And, you know, coming back to the we all one, if everyone's doing that, then that's, I think, where sort of change happens, you know, quite rapidly. It doesn't necessarily, it's not on you to bring about the rapid change. It's on you to bring about the changes within you.
Yep.